Have you ever wondered why we celebrate certain events year after year? What if we were commanded to do so by a divine entity? This is exactly what we see in the opening of Numbers chapter 9. God, in his infinite wisdom, commands the Israelites to celebrate the Passover each year at the appointed time. This isn't just a call to party, it's a divine mandate to remember, to look back at a significant event in their history. It's about recalling their liberation from Egypt, an episode of immense hardship and eventual triumph, a cornerstone of their identity. Celebrations like these aren't unique to the Israelites. They echo across cultures and religions, a testament to the importance of remembrance in shaping our collective and individual identities. We are, after all, the sum of our experiences and memories. So the Israelites were commanded to remember and celebrate their liberation from Egypt, a significant event in their history. But what happens when circumstances prevent this celebration? Imagine being unable to participate in a significant event due to unforeseen circumstances. How would that make you feel? This was the predicament faced by certain Israelites during the time of Moses, as narrated in the book of Numbers chapter 9. They found themselves unable to participate in the Passover, a crucial event in Jewish religious life. The reason? They were in a state of ritual impurity, brought about by circumstances beyond their control. Now let's take a moment to understand the gravity of this situation. In the Jewish faith, purity is of utmost importance when it comes to religious practices. Being in an unclean state for whatever reason meant exclusion from these rites. Purity wasn't just about hygiene, it was a spiritual state that correlated with holiness and closeness to God. To be unclean was to be distanced from the divine. The Passover, in particular, held a significant place in the hearts of the Israelites. It was a commemoration of their liberation from Egyptian slavery, a tangible reminder of God's mercy and power. To be barred from participating in this sacred ritual was not only disappointing but distressing. Imagine the emotional turmoil of these excluded individuals. They were desperate to engage in this act of collective remembrance, to feel the unity of their people and the nearness of their God. Yet their current state of impurity made this impossible. They were on the outside, looking in, yearning to be part of something they could not touch. But these Israelites didn't simply accept their fate. They didn't retreat into the shadows, resigned to their exclusion. Instead, they sought help. They turned to the leaders of their community, Moses and Aaron, voicing their distress, their longing to participate in the Passover. And so we see them caught in this dilemma, grappling with the reality of their unclean state and the desire to engage in a sacred ritual. Their plight is a poignant reminder of the human yearning for connection, for shared experiences, for inclusion. In their distress, the excluded individuals turned to Moses and Aaron for guidance. So what was the response to their plight? What if divine laws were not as rigid as we thought? What if there was room for flexibility and understanding? The 9th chapter of the book of Numbers reveals a fascinating provision within the divine laws. This provision was extended to those who were considered unclean or were on a journey during the time of the Passover, the pivotal celebration commemorating Israelite liberation from Egyptian bondage. In the midst of rigid laws and strict codes of conduct, there emerges a surprising element of understanding and flexibility. You see, the Passover was a crucial event. It was a time for the community to come together, to remember their shared history, their journey from slavery to freedom. But what about those who could not participate due to circumstances beyond their control? That's where this special provision comes in. God, in his wisdom, made an allowance. Those who were unclean due to contact with a dead body, or those who were away on a journey during the Passover, were not left out. They were given the opportunity to celebrate the Passover exactly 1 month later, on the 14th day of the second month. Now, this was not a minor tweak in the law. It was a significant shift, a testament to the divine understanding of human circumstances. It showed that even within the strictest of laws, there was room for compassion, for understanding, for flexibility. This provision was more than just a second chance to participate in a religious ritual. It was a reaffirmation of their identity as a liberated people, a chance to recommit to their covenant with God. It was a reminder that no one, not the unclean, not the traveler, was beyond the reach of God's love and understanding. So the unclean and the travelers were given a second chance to celebrate their liberation. But what about those who simply chose not to participate? What happens when we deliberately choose to ignore a divine command? Is there a price to pay for disobedience? These are the questions we grapple with as we delve deeper into the book of Numbers, chapter 9. In the narrative, a stern warning is issued to those who deliberately chose not to celebrate the Passover. The Passover, a sacred feast that commemorates the liberation of the Israelites from Egyptian slavery, was not a mere tradition. It was a divine command, a covenant between God and his people. To disregard it was not only a slight against tradition, but a transgression against God himself. The scriptures are quite clear about the consequences of such disobedience. According to divine laws, anyone who was clean and not on a journey, yet neglected to observe the Passover, was to be cut off from his people. A harsh punishment indeed, but one that underscores the gravity of disregarding God's commands. Disobedience in this context was seen as a deliberate act of rebellion, a conscious decision to defy divine authority. It was not a matter of ignorance or forgetfulness, but a willful disregard for divine laws. The consequences were severe, but they were a reflection of the seriousness with which God regarded his commands. This is not to say that God was unreasonable or tyrannical. On the contrary, he provided provisions for those who were unable to observe the Passover due to circumstances beyond their control. But for those who could and yet chose not to, there were consequences. The book of Numbers, chapter 9, is a potent reminder of the importance of obedience to divine commands. It's not just about following rules, but about understanding their significance and the values they represent. As we've seen, the book of Numbers, chapter 9, teaches us about remembrance, flexibility, and the consequences of disobedience. It's a reminder that divine laws are not just rules to be followed, but lessons to be learned and values to be lived. Are you ready for the next chapter? Just click here to go straight to it.